Okay, hello everyone. On behalf of the City of Peterborough, welcome. Today's event will include an announcement by Maryam Monsef, Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Rural Economic Development, and Member of Parliament for Peterborough-Kawartha, and Dave Smith, Member of Provincial Parliament for Peterborough-Kawartha. MPP Smith has let us know that he may be a little late today, as he's been called in with Cabinet, or caucus, pardon me. We also hear remarks from Keith Riel, Councillor and Co-Chair of Housing for the City of Peterborough, Jim Martin, Mayor of the Township of Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, and Bonnie Clark, Chair of the Peterborough Housing Corporation Board of Directors. The event will be emceed by Rebecca Morgan-Quinn, Manager of Housing Services at the City of Peterborough, and there will be a media Q&A session following the speaker's remarks. The event will begin shortly, but before we do, there are some routine guidelines I'd like to ask all participants to follow. If you are a speaker, please keep your camera on throughout the event and your microphone muted when you are not speaking. All other participants, please keep your camera and microphone off throughout the event. So if I could ask anyone who's not a speaker to now turn off your camera, thank you. During the media Q&A, I would like to ask members of the media to click on the raise hand button located in the reaction tab to indicate you would like to ask a question, and I will call upon you to do so. When you're done, please lower your hand in the reaction tab. You may also turn on your video during the Q&A if you'd like. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Rebecca Morgan-Quinn, the MC for today's event.
I'll start by unmuting. Thanks, Brendan. On behalf of the City of Peterborough, I'm happy to have everyone here, and I'm pleased to MC this morning's announcement. It's exciting to be able to announce these projects, although obviously it looks a little different than our announcements used to do before COVID. Nonetheless, I'm pleased to welcome you today. As the Service Manager for Housing for both the City and County, the City of Peterborough has a responsibility under the 10-year Housing and Homelessness Plan to increase the availability of affordable housing and to eliminate homelessness. And with these two projects, we're moving closer to our goal. So it's extremely exciting today to be able to announce two projects in both the City and the County. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Minister Maryam Monsef, Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Rural Economic Development, and Member of Parliament for Peterborough-Kawartha to speak.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca Morgan-Quinn. Hello, everybody. Bonjour, Anin, salam alaikum. I'm in my basement, fortunate to call this place home, Mississauga and Anishinaabe territory. Good morning, Mayor Tarian. Mayor Martin, it's great to see you, Councillors Riel and Clark, and of course, Madam Chair Bonnie Clark and the amazing Darlene Cook. It's great to be with you today to celebrate the results of seeds we planted a couple years ago, to share with you some opportunities that exist for rapid housing for our community this construction season and moving forward. And you know, let me first start with gratitude. Minister Ahmed Hussein, the minister responsible for housing, couldn't be here with us today. He sends his regards. I'm grateful to him and his team for being such champions of Peterborough-Kawartha, and very much look forward to moving further ahead on addressing housing needs here in our wonderful riding. Let me also say thanks to local leaders. We have a regular call that we set up back in March of 2020, just to make sure that we were on the same page and that we were coordinating the response to COVID for our region to the best of our abilities. This group has been an incredibly helpful part of my COVID journey. They have been thoughtful in their advocacy, fierce in their protection of our residents, and when they speak, Ottawa listen. They ask for permanent public transit funding with a carve-out for rural communities, with a carve-out for active transportation. They got it. In the budget that Chrystia Freeland tabled a couple of weeks ago, you'll see significant investments, including in permanent public transit funds, and it's municipal leaders who can take all the credit for their effective advocacy. They ask for additional funds for high-speed internet They got another $1 billion topped up to the Universal Broadband Fund. They asked for gas tax infrastructure dollars to be transferred more quickly and to be doubled. We did that last year. We're going to do it again. We've also changed the name of the gas tax fund as per the request of many. And the Canada Community Building Fund is going to be continuing to come into your bank accounts as municipalities, so that you can have the flexibility to build and grow resilient communities. They also asked for more housing dollars, and you saw in budget 2021 an additional $2.5 billion invested in affordable housing so that everybody can have a place to call home. This new fund includes an additional $1.5 billion to create another 4,500, at least 4,500 units of affordable housing through the Rapid Housing Initiative. This will address the urgent housing needs of the most vulnerable and builds on the previous $1 billion investment that will create close to 5,000 homes within the next year. What I'm really proud of is that 1/4 of this funding will support women-focused housing projects. Women are the first to lose good, affordable housing, and they're the last to get it, which is why the projects we're celebrating today are so incredibly important. They provide us a blueprint of what this community can do when we work together. The budget also includes $600 million over 7 years to renew and expand the Affordable Housing Innovation Fund, a fund I know this community is familiar with. The goal is to create 12,700 more housing units. Currently, this program has committed to funding to support over 17,000 units. But that's not all. There's another $315 million to provide financial assistance directly to low-income women and children fleeing violence, to help them with their rent payments through the Canada Housing Benefit. This is something Keith and many others have asked for, direct subsidies to individuals that allows them the mobility to take that subsidy with them no matter where they live, and that is going to make a difference. We're going to continue to work to support those who are helping others find a place to call home, and there is additional funds for community housing providers in this budget. There's $118.2 million over 7 years to support community housing providers like the one we're here to celebrate today, that deliver long-term housing to many of our most vulnerable through the Federal Community Housing Initiative. Why am I sharing this with you? As Rebecca Morgan Quinn said, in the good old days, we'd be gathering at a construction site, we'd celebrate this important milestone that these two very important projects have reached. My team and I have made it a tradition to host at least 2 summits on affordable housing, to bring providers and those with land and those who can offer the wraparound supports together to show them what's available federally so that we can move forward. And what we're celebrating today is seeds we've planted before. And now with this budget, there are opportunities for us to be bold. We saw what London did. We saw what Hamilton did. They're building collectively thousands of new units of affordable housing through these programs, through these partnerships. And moving forward, in lieu of us having a housing summit, I hope that colleagues in our community will continue to push and row in the same direction to build as many housing units as quickly as possible, because other communities have been hard at work coordinating their plans regionally. They've been hard at work addressing the red tape that exists. They've been hard at work making sure that the application process is as streamlined as possible. And of course, they've been hard at work socializing those projects with CMHC and with colleagues at Queen's Park and with the community. That's the stage we're in now, and I'm really glad that we get to celebrate this announcement, and of course have many more to come in the future if we keep working together. And I see MPP Smith has joined us too. Welcome. I hope all is well, sir, and look forward to hearing your remarks. Mayor Smith, or rather MPP Smith, I was just saying to our colleagues that there's money federally on the table to build more affordable housing. And the goal, of course, as an MP, the cruel irony is I can't apply for a single dollar of this housing to build a single unit on my own. It takes everybody else, all you hardworking community leaders, to move the process forward. And my team and I will be the matchmakers to connect you with people who have land, to connect you with folks in Ottawa, and to push hard. So I look forward to taking advantage of what's in this budget so that we can have more celebrations like this. Today, we celebrate two big projects, one on 17 Smith Drive in Havelock, Ontario, and another at Bonaccord Street, and that's right here in Peterborough, of course. Mayor Martin spoke a little bit more, I'm sure, about the process and the outcomes. These housing units in Havelock, a total of 24 rental units for seniors, are going to make a difference. 12 of them will be affordable units at 80% of market rate for 25 years. 12 of them will be at market rent, and we are so thankful that they will be operated by Peterborough Housing Corporation, an incredible partner in building decent housing in this community. And so is the next one, operated by Peterborough Housing Corporation, a total of 34 units for women-led households are moving forward at 553 Bonaccord. 33 of these will be affordable units at 80% market rate for 25 years. And of course, this is part of the conversion of the McRae building campus. And I look forward to hearing more about this particular project. As you heard me say earlier, the budget 2021 includes carve-outs to house women. This project is a beautiful example of how to get women housed, but more importantly, how to improve their labor force participation so that our employers and our businesses can also thrive as they improve their lot in life. In terms of the funding breakdown, the total federal provincial funding for the Havelock build is $1 million. $861,260 has come from our colleagues in the province. We thank you for this partnership. And $138,740 for the Havelock project has come from the federal government. For the Bonaccord build, this is a $2.5 million investment. $725,000 has been contributed by the province. We thank you. And $1.7 million has been contributed by the federal government. This brings the total of housing units that I have been able to support, whether it's been renovations, subsidies, or new builds since I've had the privilege of being your MP, to 1,694. The total funding is $47,491,464 in terms of federal contributions around affordable housing to this community. And we have at least 5 more projects in the hopper that we're working with our partners on. And there are many, many more to come, I hope. I took up a little bit of space here today because I was kind of stalling and waiting for Dave Smith, but also because I can't host another housing summit like I used to. So I really hope that folks who have worked so hard on this, I hope you're proud of yourselves. We appreciate you, particularly the essential workers. I'm thrilled for the women who are going to call these new units home. I'm thrilled for our elders who've had a tough year and they're going to have a place to call home. And I'm proud of our community. look what we can do when we all work together, and looking forward to many, many more celebrations like this. So that's it for me. Thanks to everybody involved. Congratulations. And Rebecca Morgan-Quinn, if I may, I've seen you rock it in many spaces. And the Peterborough community is so lucky that we have leaders like you working at City Hall. Let me say, Rebecca Morgan-Quinn, that in addition to the work that you do behind the scenes, I will never forget the work that you did when the tent city situation was happening and there was a town hall with difficult conversations that folks were asking. You were grace under pressure, and also a really great reminder of all of us of just how fortunate we are that smart people like you choose to dedicate their life to public service. It's a pleasure to work with you, Rebecca, and back over to you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Minister Monsef, for those very, very kind words. Dave Smith has joined us, so I'll now turn it over to Dave Smith, Member of Provincial Parliament for Peterborough-Kawartha, to speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Miriam, for stalling long enough for me to get on. I apologize for being late. I have a project that's tracking to Cabinet tomorrow, and I had to update a Cabinet committee on it this morning. I'm actually very happy to join this announcement. On behalf of Steve Clark, the Minister for Municipal Affairs and Housing, obviously as the MPP for this area, this is something that is needed. And it is very welcome to receive. We're celebrating a joint announcement of $3.5 million to support 2 separate housing projects in the Greater Peterborough area through the Investment in Affordable Housing Program and the Social Infrastructure Fund. $2.5 million of this funding supported a critically needed 34-unit affordable housing complex for individuals and female-led families in Peterborough. Some of the residents in this building are supported by the Homeward Bound Peterborough Project, a program which provides independent affordable housing for single mothers, along with services and supports to transition into independence. The complex is important to help vulnerable people in our community and includes reserved childcare spaces for Compass Daycare, supported by the Homeward Bound Project. The remaining $1 million in funding is supporting a 24-unit affordable housing complex for seniors in Havelock. And I remember when that project was first introduced. This is something that has been needed in the community for a great deal of time. And I can't thank Peterborough Housing Corporation enough for the work that they did on that project to not only see it through fruition, but to come up with the concept and the idea on it. I remember the town hall meetings that were held at the Lions Club above the arena, which actually just received funding to be fixed as well. But the engagement that there was in the community is something that I don't think that we have seen enough of in a lot of other places. And really, it comes down to the great work that the Peterborough Housing Corporation did to make sure that everybody in the community knew very well what was going to happen, how it was going to be developed, and what it was going to do for the community. So I take my hat off to you because you did an exceptional job with it. That building is also going to serve as a community hub with the Victoria Order of Nurses and Community Care to offer on-site health supports for people. It's projects like this that actually make a real difference in the lives of people in our community. And we've seen the impact of the pandemic on a lot of the vulnerable communities, vulnerable people in our communities. Being able to protect the health and safety of everybody is something that has been all government's #1 priority. And that's why, I'm very happy to say that we have provided $765 million through the Social Services Relief Fund to help Indigenous program administrators to respond to COVID-19. Under the Social Services Relief Fund, the City of Peterborough has been allocated just over $5.7 million to help deliver these critical services, and it can be used where it is needed. It doesn't necessarily have to be one specific program. And the great part about it is, normally when governments pass money down to a government at a lower level than them, a lower tier than them, they put a great number of restrictions on it. This is something that has far less restrictions so that you can use it to support shelter staff residents, anyone who has a vulnerable need. And I think that this type of an approach is exactly the approach that we should be taking, so that at the level of the municipal government, you know what the challenges are, you know where that money can be best served, and you have the ability unencumbered to actually do that. This is providing long-term housing solutions for people who are experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of becoming homeless. And we want to make sure that throughout COVID and as we come out of COVID, we're in a position where no one finds themselves where they're precariously housed and afraid that they're going to be out on the street. We can't have that happen as we move forward. The projects that we're celebrating today are great examples of how governments are working together to support housing for those who need it in our communities. And through partnerships like this, everyone in Ontario is going to have a more resilient, healthier province. So I can't thank you enough for all of this. I want to say thank you to obviously our MP, Maryam Monsef, for the work that she has done on this for a number of years. And Rebecca Morgan-Quinn, you have done yeoman's work on this. I can't thank you enough for everything that you have done and your department has done. And of course, I have to say thank you to the councils that were involved in this, because you had the vision to allocate staff to it, to recognize that this is what you needed and make sure that it happened for your communities. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be included in this, giving me the opportunity to play a small part in making a positive difference in the lives of so many people in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Smith. I'll turn it over now to Keith Riel, Ashburnham Ward Councillor, Housing Co-Chair, and member of the Board of Directors for Peterborough Housing Corporation. So welcome, Councillor Riel.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of Peterborough City Council. As one of the chairs of housing, along with my fellow council member Henry Clark, I have a real interest in getting more housing built in the city and the county and Peterborough, and truly affordable to the people who need it most. Today, we celebrate housing that has provided stability, safety, and security for families, and particularly mother-led families, as well as seniors who want to age in places in their own community, especially Havelock. Creating this housing wasn't possible without the support from all levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal. Grateful to our provincial and federal counterparts who provide funding through the Investment in Affordable Housing and the Infrastructure, Social Infrastructure Fund, and financing through Infrastructure Ontario. We're grateful to the Township of Havelock, Methuen, or Belmont, Methuen, for donating, preparing, and servicing the land and making affordable housing a priority for development in their community. And of course, we're grateful for the dedication of the Peterborough Housing Corp for seeing these projects through to completion. These two projects are helping to fill the gap of 46 households who need affordable housing. It already making a difference, and we have goals in our 10-year housing and homeless plan to create over 2,600 more. You will often hear me talk about the need for more rent geared to income housing. And you might say that that program isn't around anymore. It's not being built. But I will challenge us, city, county, townships, province, federal government, not to stop at good enough. Let's go further. Let's build more housing that is truly affordable to the people who need it most in our community. Let's put our needs first. I know that if we all work together, that we can get there. We have an amazing community of staff and citizens and Peterborough City and County. We can do it. Thank you very much for inviting me today to take part. Thank you very much for Maryam Monsef, MP for Peterborough and Kawartha, and certainly for MPP Dave Smith, and certainly the work that they have done. But I also want to, because I'm a board member of Peterborough Housing Corp, that the work that they've done, certainly moving this forward and doing the job that they have for our community. Kudos to them, and certainly our partners in both the city and the county. Thank you very much.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Martin, the Mayor of Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, to speak. Jim?
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, MPP Smith and MP Monsef and Councillor Riel. This is great news and it's exciting. I wish we could have met in person. That would have been the way we used to like it, and we missed those ribbon cuttings and things like that. But this affordable housing project's a great example of what happens when we all work together. And when Havelock, Belmont, Methuen began planning the development of this property on Smith Drive, the seniors affordable housing fit right into the plan to create a hub around our long-term care project. It was a pleasure to work with Darlene Cook and everyone at Peterborough Housing Corporation. They were great to work with, and it was a great, the process went really well. So even with all the challenges around the pandemic, and they worked throughout it and delivered a beautiful building for not only the residents, but also community care. On behalf of HBM and the community, I want to thank everyone involved in this project. It's been so nice to hear from some of the residents that have moved in there. I had one lady call me, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago and saying how excited she was to be in there and how beautiful it was. And she went on for quite a while and she said, "I'm sorry for holding you up here." And I said, "This is the best call I've had in months. Just keep talking." So it was really nice to hear from her. So she's a longtime resident and she outlived her house and had to move into something a little smaller. And she's so excited to be in there and wandering the halls, looking in the windows of community care and things like that. So it was great to hear from her. But this is a great addition to our region as a whole. And hopefully we have more to come. Like you said, MP Monsef, there's more money out there, and I know we have some more opportunity on that property itself there to finish it up. But thank you, everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing it finished over there. It's still got a little bit more work to go, but thanks everyone for all you've done to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much, Mayor Martin. I'd like to introduce the Chair of the Board of Directors for Peterborough Housing Corporation, Bonnie Clark. She'll be our last speaker today. So I'll turn it over to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Rebecca. First of all, on the occasion of our first virtual openings of 2 new communities, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank all the partners, staff, and PHC's board members who work so hard to make these projects a reality amidst very trying times. Both of these housing initiatives benefited from our local municipalities, the province, CMHC, to ensure they are truly affordable. And thank you, Minister Monsef. You have been a great partner and advocate, as well as our MPP, Dave Smith. Our board has the philosophy that we build communities that all who live there can be proud of. Housing is the foundation to enhance health and family life. The units in these buildings are spacious, beautiful, and well appointed with all these amenities to live comfortably. And as Mayor Martin said, the residents there are raving, and we appreciate it. The icing on the cake are the smiles when we show our tenants their new units first off, and we love the reactions. The municipality of Havelock, Belmont, Methuen partnered with PHC to ensure their residents could age in place and stay in their communities, and that long-term care facility will just be that next transition, so no one has to move away from their supports. VON and Community Care partnered to make it truly a community hub and ensure that services are inclusive to all. Thank you to these partners. This is what community is all about, working together. Our second community is in the city of Peterborough, Malcolm Court, named after Malcolm Hunt, Director of Planning for many years with the city of Peterborough, and a strong advocate for the Homeward Bound program, which MPP Dave Smith spoke about, as well as Minister Monsef, with more monies coming for women. This is a program where women-led families have the opportunity to go back to school and better the lives of not only themselves, but their families, literally a hands up, and that is as important as a roof over one's head. Our homeward bound participants are part of this community, and Compass Daycare is just another pillar in that community, and a fantastic pillar, I might add. One of our graduates, I understand, has obtained full-time employment with Compass Daycare, and a big thank you to them. This is truly being a partner, actively making this a community and investing in it. PHC staff and our contractors have worked diligently to deliver through a pandemic. And I want you to listen carefully to the next sentence I have to say. These projects are on time and on budget. How often do we hear that? Yes, thank you. A virtual round of applause. Last but not least, I'd like to finish up by recognizing our CEO, Darlene Cook. Many of you are aware of her reputation in the housing sector. But those who are not, Darlene is respected not just locally, but provincially, nationally, and indeed internationally. Thank you, Darlene, for your commitment, your vision, and your knowledge regarding housing that supersedes anyone that I know, or in fact, anyone on the screen here today knows. You truly have made leading these projects and making housing happen in both the county and the city come to fruition. So let's hope that we can tap into more of these monies coming down and change the lives of people and indeed our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. And thank you to all of our distinguished speakers. We're here today because we recognize the value of safe, affordable housing to our citizens, to our neighborhoods, and to our communities. Housing has an impact on those who need it most, but providing affordable housing lifts whole communities up. I'm proud to be part of this dedicated team with our federal, provincial, municipal partners, agencies, and housing providers and housing developers. And I'd like to say that while this announcement isn't the way we used to do things, now that we've fulfilled our agreements with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and CMHC, we are free to celebrate these projects in person as soon as it's safe to do so, and as many times as we feel is necessary to really fulfill all of the excitement and the joy about getting these projects off the ground and people into safe housing. So let's keep celebrating and let's keep working. And that's it for me. I believe now we have a media Q&A. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you to all the dignitaries. I'd invite any members of the media to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question today.
Brendan, our municipal partners were too humble, and maybe it's worth mentioning that for the Havelock project, $451,765 of the funding has come from the municipality. That is smart, and we appreciate it. And for the Bonaccord build, the housing at the old McRae building, the city of Peterborough has contributed $634,371. So this is, everybody's all in, and it makes a difference. And I wanted to mention that because our colleagues did it.
Thank you, Minister Monsef. I'm not seeing any hands raised by the media today, so I think.
Sorry, 1 second. I think I see 3 hands raised. One from Will Pearson at Peterborough Current, and from Matt Latour and Tricia Mason as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm not seeing those. Will, can you go ahead?
Yes, hello. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about the units in the Bonnequid building being reserved for women-led families. I guess I'm curious how those families are identified, and then what additional supports are available through the Homeward Bound program. And I believe that the Homeward Bound program has a wider PTA partnership. I'm just kind of trying to learn a little bit more about how all those supports are being delivered. I guess that's a question for Bonnie.
I didn't catch any of that. Sorry, Will.
That's okay. Did Bonnie hear my question? I think that would be important.
Okay, let me say that again. I don't think anybody caught any of it, but we want to.
If I could, the question was, how are the families identified and selected for the women-led, the units for Homeward Bound? And sorry, the second part now I'm going to blank on. It was, sorry, Will, could you?
Sure. So the other units in the Bonnequid building are also for women-led families, right?
No. First, thank you, Will, first of all, for the question. And the CAO, Darlene Cook, is on. So it is not entirely a homeward bound program. However, they're coming back to criteria. There is a criteria and I would say application that individuals go through. And this is to ensure that they will succeed. And I believe we are at a 90-some rate of success for individuals we have taken in. And so we're very proud of that. I would ask the CAO, Darlene Cook, I see you on the screen, if you could unmute and add additional information for that, please.
So eight of the units are reserved for mother-led families, and Bonnie's correct. There is a application process and a criteria screening that goes through, because we want the women that go in this program, which is for 4 years, to be able to succeed. We have 3 graduating this spring, so we're absolutely thrilled. And as Bonnie mentioned, we have one who has gained her employment. So it's not only an education program, it is academic upgrading, life skills. We do a lot of preparation for going out to the workplace. There's a 14-week internship. So lots of elements and counseling to get these women through. And I have to say that the women have been particularly resilient in a year where they were home helping their children learn, as I know most of the population is, but also trying to do all of their courses online. So kudos to them, and times when the daycares were not available to them. So I'm hoping the current cohort is just entering their 3rd year of the 4-year program, and we're hoping to have more cohorts in the future.
Cool, thanks. I think I'll just I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Will. And Tricia Mason, can I invite you to unmute?
Yeah, thank you all so much for the announcement this morning. Actually, all my questions were answered about this topic, but Miriam, if I could ask, I have a colleague doing a story on the job announcement from yesterday. Could you just give a quick statement about that for him?
You're talking about the Canada Summer Jobs?
Yes.
Among those hardest hit by COVID are young people who've had to make many sacrifices to keep our elders safe. And we appreciate their hard work. We see them in our community in their placements. We see them on the front lines of the fight against COVID. We see them getting vaccines into arms and doing smart research projects. And we also hear from employers who say we have labor shortages. So we're doubling the number of Canada Summer Jobs. We're giving young people in our community meaningful work experiences, and we're giving employers incentives to hire them so that they can help them get online if that's what the business needs, so that they can improve their outreach if that's what the business needs, and bring that burst of energy that I know we all appreciate right now in every single workplace. And I congratulate every workplace for signing up for this. And of course, every single one of the young leaders who's going to contribute to our community in this very difficult time.
Great, thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And our other raised hand is Matt Latour. Thank you, Matt.
I've got one question first for Bonnie Clark and then one for MP Monsef afterwards. For Bonnie, I guess my question is, you mentioned that, you know, this project is on schedule and it's on budget, which is great news. Can you give some insight into what the timeline looks like as far as applications and move-ins is?
As far as move-ins, I believe we are totally rented up now. So move-ins are done, fully rented up, and met the timelines yet again. So
that is awesome news. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just might add, Mayor Martin did mention there's still a few things, and it's more the cosmetics outside that have to be done. So tenants are in, and we're just looking at landscaping and patios and finishing that part up. So that will be done hopefully before we reach the nice weather, so our residents can enjoy the ambiance of HBM out there. And so all is good.
Perfect. Thank you, Bonnie. And my next question is for MP Monsef. With a project like this, where you have funding from the federal government, provincial government, and a few different municipalities, is it tough to kind of juggle all of that, or is it a little easier because this is something everyone's on the same page about?
Our community needs thousands more units of affordable housing, and it's only through all hands on deck that we're going to get it done. It is so incredibly important for applications at the federal level to see the community come forward with a project that has the broad support of all orders of government, as well as meaningful investments. And I know these are, you know, tough decisions that our colleagues in councils have to make, but these are smart decisions, because I sincerely believe that the main limiting factor for our growth sustainably in our region post-pandemic will be our lack of affordable and all housing, but it's a problem we can solve if we keep working together like this.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thanks, Matt. Any other of our media partners would like to ask a question today? I'm not seeing any, and I believe that concludes today's announcement. Thank you for everyone for attending.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you all.